right, welcome everybody to another Arts After School lesson. Today we have Ben Phillian joining us to do some origami. So welcome, Ben, and we're excited to have you here.
Thank you, Travis, and thank you to Touchstone for allowing me to be here today. So let me pull up my slideshow here just to get things going. Today, I'm just going to be talking to you guys about how art and mathematics are connected. Now, I know what you're thinking. Why are we talking about math? What? I have to do math? Not necessarily, but hear me out. So we're going to take a brief look into the art of mathematics. So just a little bit about me. I am a high school math teacher up in Confluence, PA. I teach at Turkey Foot Valley Area School District, which is about 10 minutes away from Ohio POW. I graduated from Indiana University of PA for secondary mathematics. I got to work with a lot of great teachers across Pennsylvania and across the world in my time there. All you really need to know about me is I love math. I love math puns. I am very musical. I play the bassoon and the piano in my free time. I love to read. And you can always find me with a cup of coffee in my hand. So before we get started into the origami part of mathematics, I just wanted to give you a very brief history of how art and math are actually connected. Easier said than done. But I just wanted to start with this quote: "Let no one read me who is not a mathematician." Originally in a different language, but the man who said this was Leonardo da Vinci, who we all know or should know in the art world and science world. So before Leonardo da Vinci really hit the surface, you could say, there was this guy named Pacioli. And Pacioli worked alongside Leonardo da Vinci and also influenced a lot of what da Vinci's work reflects. Pacioli here wrote on divine proportion, which is what later da Vinci based a lot of his, or at least what scholars believe he based a lot of his work upon. But I just want to direct your attention here to the portrait of Pacioli here. This is Pacioli, an Italian mathematician during the Renaissance, with one of his students. And in this piece, there are a couple aspects that, from an art perspective, influence the mathematics realm of thinking. So in this portrait, we have a multitude of geometric tools. There's a compass on the table. This is a dodecahedron model. It's a 3D polyhedron shape. These books here are Euclid's Elements. Euclid is the father of geometry. And really the main spectacle of the piece is this figure suspended from the ceiling. It's half filled with water, and it is called a rhombocube octahedron. Try saying that 10 times fast. And before this painting was, painted, no one really knew the shape existed. So this piece and what was written on this chalkboard here led mathematicians to discover a new realm of 3D polyhedra. Pretty cool, right? So not only does math influence art, but art also influences mathematics. So that leads us over to Leonardo da Vinci, where he is famously known for the Vitruvian Man, the Mona Lisa. a lot of art scholars believe that the Mona Lisa was constructed based off of a mathematical proportion called the golden ratio. It's a special number in math. It's about 1.618, and it is a surprising number in the universe. It can be found in art, in science, in math, in nature, in biology. Pretty much everywhere you look, you could that you could study, you could pinpoint this golden ratio. And actually, if you want to test it out here, I have here, it's called the golden ratio in human form. So you take your hand, either your left or your right, and a ruler. And where's my ruler? That would be important to have right now, excuse me. And on your hand, you measure between your knuckles, and then from your knuckle up. The diagram there dictates, what A, B, and C represent. And, you can jot down each of those measurements. You can measure in inches or centimeters, whichever one. And you compute these ratios. So the distance on your hand of C divided by the distance of B, or you could use the distance of B divided by the distance of A. Those ratios should get very close to this number, 1.618. And back in the day, they said if these proportions were close to the golden ratio, that said that you had a divine figure. Again, that was back in the day. There's no such thing as a divine figure. But Leonardo da Vinci believed that the golden ratio did have a specific form. So that's something you could do. It's a nice little history lesson too, connecting art and math. So before we get started in the actual origami, I just want to show you a couple other features that connect art with mathematics. The very first thing that I think of when I think of math is patterns. And in art, there are many, many patterns that exist. So there's something called tessellations that you could create. We did this in school a couple months ago. We made some 3D bubbles. So you could make spheres, pyramids, cones, even spirals, depending on how you structure the wand. And there are other shapes that you could make with either paper. Obviously, these look very complex. Or you could make them with technology, coding. We've got some fractals. If you've never heard of fractals, you have to look it up. It is very cool, very interesting. It takes something that is finite, something that is enclosed, and creates something infinite out of it. And finally here, this man in the bottom left-hand corner, this guy is named Martin Gardner. And he is a man of many puzzles and many logic problems. And he is the main man who both invented the hexaflexagon, which we are going to make today, and kind of studied the mathematics behind the hexagon itself. So without further ado, I need you to gather the following objects. So make sure you have an 8.5 by 11 piece of paper, a pencil, a ruler, a pair of scissors, a glue stick. If you just have Elmer's glue, that's fine too. And then any sort of coloring utensils. All right, so I'm gonna move over to my document camera. You see the document camera? Cool. Is the document camera moving? Can you see my hand? I knew it was bound to happen. All right, let me try. Let me stop. Let me try again. Can you see my hand? No.
Camera's coming up, and if you're putting your hands under it, that's not.
All right, give me a second. Okay. Should work this time. See my hand? Perfect. All right. So what we are going to be making today is a hexaflexagon. Now, what I have here, I keep this hexaflexagon in my wallet at all times because you never know who you're going to impress. So I've got a hexagon that is red on one side. Turn the light on there. Red on one side and pink on the other. So hexa meaning six-sided. Flexa means I can change the shape by flexing it. Now I have a blue side.
You show it's not coming up if you're showing it under the camera.
Your screen sharing is paused. Resume share. How about now?
Perfect.
Okay. I changed it to full screen, so that might have been the problem. Okay, so we've got our pink side and our blue side. Well, where did the red side go? If I flex it once more, oops. Wait a second, that's purple and blue. I still can't find, oh, there's the pink again. Blue and purple. So there's different ways to manipulate the hexaflexagon such that you receive different colors. So today we are just going to make a three-sided hexaflexagon. And by three sides, I mean three colors. The one I just showed you is a six-sided hexaflexagon. So if I would flex this different ways, I would come across 6 different colors. Okay. And there are many different variations of this that you can do as well. But for the sake of just starting out, we're going to keep it simple. So on your piece of paper, you zoom out here. What you want to do, you want to take your ruler, and from the edge of the paper, you want to measure 1.5 inches to make a strip. So you can see that I have kind of marked with a red line where 1.5 inches is. All right, so you kind of just want to make a couple markings along your paper. I like to make at least 3. All right, and then you want to draw your line. So connect the points. Okay, and once you have your strip drawn, remember with a width of 1.5 inches, then you want to cut out that strip. Okay, so try to keep it as straight as possible. Oops. Okay, so I've got my strip. So the next part here, once you have your strip of paper, you want to measure 3/4 of an inch. Okay, so I'm trying to get a good angle here. So take an end and you want to measure 3/4 of an inch. Make a couple markings. Okay, and the purpose of this is to set us up for the folds themselves. So if you noticed back on my hexaflexagon, yes, it was a hexagon, but each fold is a little triangle. Okay, I have 6 triangles on each side. So we want our folds to be resembled as equilateral triangles. So equilateral where every side is the same length. Okay. So what you want to do once you have your 3/4 of an inch drawn, you're going to take the bottom corner. So take the bottom corner and you're going to fold it inward such that you create a crease like so. I can zoom in just a little more here. And I'm going to open up the flap here. If you notice, the crease that I made connects up at the line we drew. So you want your crease to connect up to that point. So you might have to fold it a couple times just to get that right crease in there. But you want the crease to meet at the point. Okay. So once you've made that crease, go on and keep that fold down. Then you want to take the top corner, and bring it down towards the bottom of the sheet. So your corner here is going to fold down to somewhere over here, such that you make a triangle. I might have to, oh, I'd say that's pretty even. Okay, so just to recap, we have our main piece of paper. We measured 3/4 of the way in. The first fold was from the bottom corner, and we folded it inward such that the crease makes a point on the line we drew. And then you want to take your top corner and fold it down towards the bottom such that it makes a triangle. So notice I didn't fold it like this, so that it overlapped and went over the line. I folded it so that it was touching the line. It made one equilateral triangle. Okay. So once you do that, you can unfold it, and then you're actually going to chop off this piece here where I drew the line. Our very first fold, you're going to cut that off. Right, so your strip of paper, when you turn it over, should have a little slant to it. That's the most important step, because the fact that you can create your equilateral triangle will set you up for the remainder of the origami, the remainder of the steps. Okay, if you don't have an equilateral triangle, it poses a couple problems. Your hexaflexagon probably won't flex the way it should. So you want to try to get your triangle as close to equal as possible. And just to let you know, at the end of the demo, I do have templates that I'm going to share with you, or Travis will probably share them, where you can just print out the template. You don't have to do any of these steps. But for those of us who don't have a printer, I'm going to show you how to do it this way. So you'll always be able to do it. So we've got our first triangle. And now all you want to do is kind of continue folding to make additional triangles with the same shape. So it's kind of like you're making a paper football, except you want to try to keep each triangle the same shape. So what I would recommend is, instead of folding it continuously and wrapping it up like a paper football, because sometimes the creases start to overlap on one another and you lose that tightness that you need in origami, you could try to alternate sides. So flip it over and fold, make your triangles like that, such that they overlap with one another. Okay, and this might take some practice, but if you find yourself making too big of a triangle, you might have to start over. But I've already gone ahead and I've made my folds myself. So here's that initial line we drew. We cut off that extra sheet there. So after you folded, I'll zoom out here. After you folded, you should come out with, let's see, 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, 9, 10, 11 triangles with a little bit left over here. I don't know if you can see that extra crease over here. Okay, for the hexaflexagon, you need 10 of these triangles. So I can outline them here. Okay, if you don't get 10 triangles, then that means that you made your initial triangle too big. If you get more than 10 triangles, it should be okay, but like I said, you want to try to make sure you have your equilateral triangles. Okay, so there are our 10. So what I'm going to do is cut off the extra fold you have at the end. You don't need that one. And here's where the analytical part comes in. We've got our strip, but how do we fold it such that we create a hexagon? And if I was doing this in a classroom, non-COVID, this is where me as a teacher would have the most fun, because I would get to watch you guys try to fold it and figure it out. And I've had a couple students, you know, toggle around and they would get it after about 5 or 10 minutes. But for the purpose of the video here, for the demo, I always think that labeling things will always save us in the end. Okay, so on your strip of paper, the front side should have a shape where the left-hand corner, the top triangle here, is in this position. Okay, this would be the front, and then this would be the back. Okay, notice how the shape I have labeled here, you're moving from left to right, you're going up. We're moving from left to right, we're going up. This is the back side. All right, so whenever you have your hexaflexagon, take your pencil. I would use pencil because we are going to color these. So you don't want to write too dark. But I want you to label your triangles just as I have them up here. So I'm labeling the front side. So I'm going to match up my triangles. And notice I didn't fill this last triangle. That is because it is extra. We're going to cut it off. So just hold on to that for right now. But whenever you flip it to do the back side, because that triangle is extra, you want to flip it just over like that. Okay, so the front side, the 3 that you have labeled here, when you turn it over, it's going to have an A on the back. Okay, and then we're going to label the back side. So we have A, 2, 3, 3, 1, 1, 3, and B. Okay, so I'm actually going to cut off that extra triangle there. Okay, like I said earlier, you only need 10 triangles for the hexaflexagon. So after you fold up all your triangles, if you count to 10, if you have 11, just cut off the 11th. You don't need it. Okay, so we've got our piece of paper, we folded the triangles, we labeled it, now it's time to fold it. So starting with the front side, I'm focusing on the last 3 triangles here, 1, 1, and 2. I want you to hold that. I'm going to move this. That's going to be your starting point. And we got both sides labeled. And the reason why we labeled them is because whenever we make the hexaflexagon, whenever we form our hexagon, all of the numbers should match up on one side. So all of my 1s need to be on the same side, all of my 2s on the same side. Okay, so if we're looking at our hexaflexagon, if I'm starting with these first 3, I need to fold the rest of this piece in such a way where I can get some 1s. So I could try folding it down like that. And I got some 1s, but I have this random 2 in there, so I don't want that. So that's me folding over. So if I fold under, hey, there's the 1s. So I got 1, 1, 1, 1, 3, 3, and then 2. So let me think here. If I fold this way, so I took the remainder of my strip and I folded up. I don't know if you can see, there might be a glare. I almost have all ones, but there's that one pesky 2 in there. So instead of folding up, I'm going to fold back. Like that. But that still presents a problem because there's a 2 on top. Here's where the magic is. We slide the 2 underneath. And now we have all ones. If I flip it over, I have almost all 3s, but there's a B. Now, why in the world would I make you write letters and numbers? Doesn't, man, what could, oh, you know what? We need a glue stick too for our materials. So it only makes sense that the letters pair together. And there's our final 3. So you want to take your glue stick and you want to glue A to B. Okay, so if you're there, go for it. If you have all your 3s lined up, all your 1s lined up, I want you to take your glue stick and glue A to B. Okay, I'm going to run through the folding one more time here just to make sure we're all on the same page. So remember, if you're starting with your strip of paper, we want to start on the front side. So if you're holding it in front of you, your left thumb should be on a 3. Your right thumb should be on a 2. You want to start with the 1, 1, 2 on the right-hand side. Okay, so I'm going to fold back and under. And then where the crease between the 1 and the 3 is, I'm going to fold the rest of that strip up from underneath. And then I'm going to tuck the top strip underneath the bottom. So I got all my 1s, and then I'm going to glue my letters together. And I only use a glue stick because it goes much faster, especially when we're in class. But if you have your Elmer's glue, you just might have to hold down the glue a little longer. Okay, some people use double-sided tape, but I don't think that will work well, especially if you want your hexaflexagon to last long, because sometimes the tape can lose its stickiness over time. Okay. So once you have glued your letters together, what I would recommend doing before you actually flex the hexaflexagon, I would go through and crease all of your edges. So maybe fold the hexaflexagon in half a couple times, rotate it, just to get all of the creases oiled up for the folding. Because I've had students fold it correctly, glue it, but when it went time to flexing it, they ended up ripping it because they hadn't, creased the edges. Okay, just like before you go for a run, you got to stretch. Otherwise, you might get a cramp. Okay, so once we have all our edges creased and ready to go, now comes the visual aspect. We have our hexagon. We got our 1s and our 3s, but where are our 2s? So you always want to try to aim to make a Tristar. Okay, so it always reminds me of a car. I don't know what car it is. Travis, you might know what symbol that is.
Mercedes, maybe?
Maybe, I don't know. But you want to try to make this shape out of your hexaflexagon. So I have my hexagon. I fold it in such a way that it creates a Tristar. For those of you who love Star Wars, this shape should look familiar. If you don't get that reference, watch Star Wars, you'll get it. So you want to try to make the Tristar. And I'm going to highlight here that not only is this made up of triangles, but it's made up of diamonds too. So if you treat each pair of triangles like one diamond, you're going to push the inside of the diamond in, if that makes sense. So here are my 3 diamonds. So I'm pushing on the inside to make that Tristar. But if you notice, I can't unfold it. There's nothing to unfold. So if that does not work, because that might happen at home whenever you're doing this by yourself, if you get to the point where you make your Tristar and there's nothing to unfold, you want to try a different set of diamonds. So just rotate, try a different crease. So I tried a different crease. Oh, and there we go. There's number 2. With number 1 on the other side. Well, where did 3 go? Well, if we keep on going, we keep on going, make your Tristar and fold outwards, there's number 3. So there is your hexaflexagon. You can show it to all your friends, keep it in your wallet or your purse. But now comes the fun. I mean, we're having so much fun. It's just like the fun just builds off of itself over and over again. But this is where you can add your personal touch to it. When I made my first hexaflexagon, I was boring and I just did, a couple random colors, kind of colors of the rainbow. I've had people do patterns. I've had people draw an actual picture. So someone did like the face of a cat and the face of a dog, so that whenever you folded it, every time you'd get a different animal. And once you get good at making hexaflexagons, not only can you make, our 3-sided or the 6-sided, but you can also make 3-dimensional hexaflexagons. And one of my students actually made this. So these are some example designs you could make. She kind of just did like a couple different patterns. But this is very possible once you get the hang of how the folds work. You can really go all out and try one of these different templates. So that's all I have for you for the hexaflexagons. I hope that you learned something new and have something extra to do. Instead of making that paper football, you could make a hexaflexagon, I think, don't tell your teachers or, but, we'll try something new here. So before I wrap up here, I just want to, where'd my PowerPoint go? Show you one last thing. And this is something that I did not know existed until I went to college and until I learned about hexaflexagons. Share screen. I can't multitask if you figured that out. So you're probably wondering, just as any student would, in math class. I hear this question every single day. When am I going to use this in real life? And it depends on what you want to do. Origami to us is a way to kill some time, but it does actually have some real life applications. There's a physicist and professional origami maker. I'm not sure what their actual title is called, but he worked for NASA. His name is Robert Lang, and he worked for NASA for, I'd say, like 15 years. And, during his time in NASA, they constructed satellites such that they would start out, like we made our hexaflexagon, they would start out maybe as the Tristar, but once they shot up into space, they would open up in such a way, or unfolded in a way, to collect data. And that's what over here on the right-hand side, it kind of looks like a golden flower. This is actually a model, actual origami model of what a NASA satellite ended up being designed as. I just think that's really cool to know that, you know, this is not only a hobby, but it's also used in NASA, which is mind-blowing to me. But if you ever are intrigued or want to know more about origami and how it relates to mathematics, just look him up on YouTube. There's a couple great videos with him. So that's all I have for you. If you found this interesting and want to know more about the connections between mathematics and art, there are 3 books here that I immediately thought of. I'm sure there are plenty more. The first one, Gödel, Escher, and Bach, but the ties between the mathematic realm, the art realm, and the music realm, how those are all intertwined and related. That is a great book just to have on your shelf. Fractals, The Patterns of Chaos, also another great read, or just to look at pictures. We all love picture books. And the last one here is The Golden Ratio. Anytime someone talks about art and math, they're going to mention the golden ratio. I did. So that's about all I have for you. Travis, I have the 2 templates here for the hexaflexagons. I'm sure you can send that out.
And we'll post the video along with the PDFs. I think we should do that, so that way they're right there with the video. And thanks, Ben. That was awesome.
Sweet.
I think that was really great. I will enjoy doing this, and I think everybody else will too. So thanks for joining us.
Yeah, once you make your hexaflexagons, go on and send Touchstone a picture. I'd love to see them in action. Reach out if you have any questions. But I look forward to working with Touchstone from a mathematical point of view. And yeah, happy folding. Thank you.
Thanks, Ben, and I hope everybody has a good day. Bye-bye.